Asterisk, the snow fell steadily that December evening, blanketing the city in a hushed silence that only winter can bring. Thomas Hartwell adjusted his wool coat as his driver pulled up to the curb outside the downtown office building. At 58, Thomas had built his construction company from the ground up, working 16-hour days for 3 decades until Hartwell and Associates became one of the city's most respected firms. Asterisk, same time tomorrow, Mr. Hartwell, his driver, asked, asterisk, actually, I'll drive myself tonight. Marcus, you get home to that granddaughter of yours before this snow gets any worse. Asterisk, Thomas had always believed in taking care of his people. It was a lesson his father, a union carpenter, had taught him long ago. Asterisk, a man is only as good as how he treats those round him. Asterisk, asterisk, as Marcus drove away. Thomas noticed someone sitting at the bus stop across the street in the glow of the streetlight. He could see it was a young woman, her shoulders hunched against the cold. She wore scrubs under a thin jacket, clearly a healthcare worker finishing a long shift. Asterisk, Thomas had seen enough winters in Chicago to know that kind of cold could be dangerous. He glanced at his watch. Nearly 11 o'clock. The buses would be running less frequently now, especially with the weather turning. Asterisk, something his late wife Eleanor used to say echoed in his mind. Asterisk, kindness costs nothing, Thomas. But it's worth everything. Asterisk, asterisk, he crossed the street, his footsteps muffled by the snow. Asterisk, excuse me, miss, he said gently, not wanting to startle her. Are you waiting for the bus? Asterisk, the young woman looked up. She appeared to be in her late 20s, with kind eyes that held the exhaustion of someone who'd spent the day caring for others. Her name tag read Sarah, RN. Asterisk, yes, sir, she replied, her voice steady despite the cold. The 47 bus should be here soon. Asterisk, Thomas glanced at the bus schedule posted behind the shelter. The next bus wasn't due for another 45 minutes. Asterisk, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but with this snow, that bus might not come at all tonight. They sometimes suspend service when it gets this heavy. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I'm Thomas Hartwell. I own the construction company in that building there. I'm heading home, and I'd be happy to give you a ride. No strings attached, just one person helping another on a cold night. Asterisk, Sarah studied his face, her nurse's instincts reading people the way she'd learned to read patients. She saw genuine concern, not the calculating look she'd encountered from men with ulterior motives. Asterisk, that's very kind of you, Mr. Hartwell, but I couldn't impose. Asterisk, you wouldn't be imposing, Thomas said, his voice carrying the gentle authority of someone accustomed to taking care of people. Look, I have a daughter about your age. If she were sitting at a bus stop in weather like this, I'd hope someone would offer her a warm car and safe ride home. Asterisk, something in his tone, paternal, protective, genuinely concerned, made Sarah's decision for her. Asterisk, all right, she said, standing and shouldering her small backpack. Thank you. I'm Sarah, by the way. Sarah Mitchell. Asterisk, pleasure to meet you. Sarah. Asterisk, as they walked to his car, a modest sedan. Not the flashy vehicle Sarah might have expected from a company owner. Thomas made easy conversation. Asterisk, long shift today. Asterisk, 14 hours. Sarah replied, we're short-staffed, and flu season is hitting hard. Some days it feels like there aren't enough hours to help everyone who needs it. Asterisk, Thomas nodded. Understanding that kind of dedication. What kind of nursing do you do? Asterisk, pediatric oncology, Sarah said quietly. Asterisk, Thomas stopped walking for a moment. He knew that Phil required a special kind of strength, the ability to care for sick children while supporting families through their darkest hours. Asterisk, that's important work, he said simply. Hard work, Asterisk, someone has to do it, Sarah replied. And Thomas heard the calling in her voice, the same sense of purpose he'd felt when building his first house for a young family 40 years ago. Asterisk, as they drove through the snowy streets. Sarah found herself sharing more than she'd intended. Maybe it was the warmth of the car after the bitter cold. Or maybe it was Thomas's gentle way of listening, really listening, without trying to offer solutions or judgments. Asterisk, I actually live about 20 minutes from here, she said, then quickly added, but you can drop me at the subway station downtown. I don't want to take you out of your way. Asterisk, nonsense, Thomas said. Where do you live? Asterisk, Riverside Gardens Apartments. Near the Old Mill District. Asterisk, Thomas knew the area working class. Housing. Clean but not fancy. The kind of place where nurses and teachers and shop clerks lived. People who chose careers that mattered more than careers that paid well. Asterisk, that's not far from my route home, he said. Which wasn't entirely true, but Thomas had learned long ago that small kindnesses were worth small detours. Asterisk, as they drove. Sarah mentioned she was saving for her own car. The bus usually works fine. But nights like this. She gestured at the falling snow. I never know if I'll make it home. Asterisk, how long have you been nursing? Thomas asked. Asterisk, 5 years next month. I started right out of college. She was quiet for a moment. My little brother had leukemia when he was 7. He's fine now, completely recovered, but watching what our family went through. Seen the nurses who cared for him. I knew that's what I wanted to do with my life. Asterisk, Thomas felt a familiar tightness in his chest. Eleanor had been gone for 3 years now. Lost to cancer despite the best care money could buy. He remembered the nurses, their competence, their kindness, their ability to maintain hope even in the hardest moments. Asterisk, the nurses were angels, he said quietly. When my wife was sick. They made all the difference, not just medically, but they made her feel human when the disease was trying to take that away. Asterisk, I'm sorry for your loss, Sarah said, and Thomas could hear in her voice that she'd said those words many times before, but she meant them every time. Asterisk, they drove in comfortable silence for a while, watching the snow transform the familiar city into something magical and new. Asterisk, that's my building, Sarah said as they approached a modest brick complex, the one with the green awning. Asterisk, Thomas pulled up to the entrance and put the car in park. But instead of saying goodbye, he found himself asking, Sarah, can I ask you something? Asterisk, of course. Asterisk, do you like your work? Really like it. Asterisk, Sarah smiled, the first genuine smile Thomas had seen from her all evening. I love it, even on the hardest days. Especially on the hardest days. When you help a child feel better. When you hold a parent's hand while they're scared. When you're part of someone getting their life back. There's nothing like it. Asterisk, Thomas nodded, remembering that feeling. That's how I felt building houses when I was starting out. Every family that moved into a home I'd built, I felt like I'd helped create something important. Asterisk, you did, Sarah said. Everyone needs a safe place to come home to. Asterisk, as Sarah gathered her things, Thomas made a decision. He reached into his wallet and pulled out a business card. Asterisk, Sarah. I want you to have this. Not for business reasons, but he paused, searching for the right words. Sometimes life gets difficult, and it helps to know there are people who care. If you ever need anything, a ride on a snowy night, help with something, or just someone to talk to, you call me. Asterisk, Sarah looked at the card, then at Thomas's face. Mr. Hartwell, you don't even know me. Asterisk, I know enough. Thomas said, I know. You spend your days taking care of sick children. I know you waited in the cold for 45 minutes rather than complain or give up. I know you have the kind of heart that chooses nursing over easier careers. He smiled. Besides, my Eleanor always said the best friendships start with small kindnesses between strangers. Asterisk Sarah tucked the card carefully into her wallet. Thank you, Mr. Hartwell, for the ride, and for seeing me tonight. Asterisk, thank you for letting me help, Thomas replied. It's been a long time since I felt useful beyond writing checks, asteriskers. Sarah walked toward her building. She turned back. Mr. Hartwell, your wife was right about kindness, and I think she'd be proud of the man you are. Asterisk Thomas sat in his car for a moment after Sarah disappeared inside, feeling something he hadn't experienced in years, the simple satisfaction of helping someone who needed it. Expecting nothing in return, asterisk the snow continued to fall as he drove home. But the night felt warmer somehow. Eleanor had always believed that people came into your life for a reason, sometimes to teach you something, sometimes to give you a chance to pass along what you'd learned. Asterisk perhaps, Thomas thought. This was just the beginning of understanding. What that reason might be. Asterisk sometimes the most important connections begin with the smallest gestures of human kindness. And sometimes, on a snowy December night, a simple offer of help becomes the foundation for something neither person expected, to find a reminder that in a world that often feels cold and distant, there are still people who choose to see each other, to care, and to act on that care. Asterisk the snow kept falling, blanketing the city in quiet beauty. While two people, a successful businessman and a dedicated nurse, went to sleep that night knowing that he'd encountered something rare and precious, genuine human kindness, freely given and gratefully received.